A few days ago, Salwan Momika was targeted in his own house while doing a live stream. He was an Iraqi refugee known for Quran burning. Many people thought he was an ex-Muslim, and he received a lot of attention for his actions. I personally have never been a fan of burning Qurans, not my style. But at this point, I support whatever needs to be done to push back. There can't be any sort of incentive or reward for murdering people who oppose Islam. At this point, there are people all over protesting by doing the same thing that Salwan was killed for. The reality is that the murder of opponents of Islam never ends. What we need to do is disincentivize this. If everyone takes part, no one person can be targeted, which is what the goal should be. Burning the Quran was an inflammatory act, and it was one that was intended to cause upset. Being upset is allowable and understandable. But the Quran doesn't get hurt by this. There are 20 million or so Qurans printed every year. Plus, as they brag about, it's memorized by millions or whatever. So the Quran isn't going anywhere. This is simply a symbolic protest. But if someone is trying to piss you off by calling you violent and you react and kill them, what you've done is prove them right. Muslims have a right to counter-protest, to put political pressure, to use any non-violent means to push back, but violence is never acceptable. What they've done is create a martyr out of him, and now his message will spread even further. What stronger way to make your point than to die by it? Here's what Ali Dawa had to say about it, and then following this, I'm going to respond to Sajid Lipham's video as well. What you're gonna see is that there's a refusal to condemn his murder. Actually, not quite that, but more condemning the method of his murder, not the murder itself. There's no sympathy for him being murdered. Just how it was done was invalid. They do admit this, but very casually throwing in the F around and find out. That's what happened to him. Basically, victim blaming. Muhammad Hijab also said the same thing in his veiled threats to Alex O'Connor. He warned him, and I have a whole video about how he threatened and scared Alex into not talking about Islam. And now Alex is not attending the modern day debate event in February due to these safety concerns. You see, these events have a chilling effect and scare people. But we can't cave in. We have to push back twice as hard. Don't let the jihadis shut us down. We can't let them win. Before we jump into the video, let's just look at the comments. Comments are quite interesting. Will Muslims keep denying the fact that religion is violent? You guys keep ignoring this. No internal critic? Not even try to call your people not to celebrate this? The guy who killed Salwan Momika is treated as a hero among Muslims. This is really sad. Murdering people for criticizing your religion is not just barbaric but evil. This act has made me hate Islam completely. Why will y'all kill him for burning a religious book? I don't support him burning the Quran, but killing him and defending murder is beyond evil. And another comment, quite a few people are saying this because it seems that maybe Sajid and Ali and others have missed the point that this guy is not an ex-Muslim. So you don't condemn murder? What I've noticed so far is that you have not condemned the man's murder. This is very telling. No one portrays Islam as negative. It's negative on its own. There you go. So let's look at the video now.
Quran burner Salwan Momika shot dead in Sweden. So this individual here, as we can see, he is being eulogized as a Quran burner. All of these different articles are just talking about how this individual is by and large known for the fact that he would burn the Quran. He would set up anti-Islam campaigns and basically try to upset Muslims and be as provocative as possible. And he would do things like this outside of the mosque on the greatest holiday of the year for Muslims, Eid al-Adha. But then we can see that he fled to Europe and he would just do the most provocative things that he could possibly do. Here he is, stepping on a Quran, flying the Israeli flag, just obviously trying to provoke the Muslims, trying to upset them. But he is not alone in this sort of behavior because there is an entire industry of people that make their careers provoking Muslims, lying about Islam, trying to portray Islam negatively, essentially trying to incite the Muslims to do something. For example, here we see David Wood, who is one of these people. For years, David Wood has been doing things like this, trying to be as disrespectful as possible toward Muslims. Here he has a picture where he presumably urinated on pages of the Quran. And he's literally trying to incite violence against himself. What did he write? He wrote, "Come get me, cowards." And he has been behaving like this for years. This is his career, to the extent that he is supposedly this Christian apologist, yet his main collaborator is not even a Christian. It's an atheist, or perhaps an agnostic ex-Muslim, whose career is also all about bashing Islam, trying to be as disrespectful as possible towards Muslims. He says he ordered dozens of Qur'ans. They will be burned in honor of Salwan. So there is an entire industry, and there has been for a long time, where people's entire lives and careers are dedicated to being as disrespectful as possible toward Muslims, spreading lies about Islam, trying to antagonize Muslims, trying to instigate something to happen. And then if and when something does happen, they then use it to try and justify their existence. But they can't even do that honestly. So
why is it that it's so easy to rile up and get violent reactions for these things? Why is it that the Danish cartoons, why is it that, burning the Quran, why is it that whenever these things happen, there's this like violent response? It's almost like playing the sympathy card here, that, we're the victims here. We're the ones being attacked. Our religion is under threat, whatever, right? The reality is that whatever these guys do, first of all, David Wood, Apostate Prophet, they have a thing they do that whenever there's a jihadi attack, right, and people are killed through a truck ramming or whatever, they will do these things as a response to that every single time. So this latest round of things that they're doing with the Quran, right, this is because of Salwan. This is literally, they don't, like, even David Wood said in one of his streams I was watching, even Apostate Prophet said this, that he wasn't, really interested in burning the Quran recently, and then this happened, right? This whole thing happened. So at this point, people are responding to the fact that this guy was killed, and this is why it's being done. Now, this guy is going to act a victim and act like he's the one that's being attacked. And sure, you know what? We live in a modern world where people will not like your religion and they'll attack it. And that's just words. And they do these things because they're upset. You're most welcome to do the same thing. You can go and burn whatever book you want to, right? I mean, it's fair game. Now, at the end of the day, burning books, in my opinion, I don't know what that gets you, but that's people's rights to do it, right? They have every right to do this if they want to.
All I know is that every time she comes up on my feed, she's spreading some sort of lie and inciting some sort of hatred against Muslims. This post has 2.2 million views. David Wood's provocation was posted underneath this. She said, "Breaking, a Sharia-style execution has just unfolded in Sweden." Now, first of all, no, it hasn't. BBC reported that a man who sparked violent protests after burning the Quran has been shot dead in Sweden. He was killed in an apartment. Stockholm police said in a statement that 5 people had been arrested. So that's all that we know right now. We don't know who the 5 people were. We don't know who did this. We don't know for certain why they did it. Yet we have this person lying, saying that a Sharia-style execution just unfolded.
We don't know why. We don't know who did it. Really? Do you really have any doubt in your mind who did this or why it was done? And actually, what he's trying to say is that Sharia style execution, meaning this is not allowed in Sharia because it's vigilantism, right? He does have somewhat of a point, but he's missing the bigger picture. Muhammad ordered these exact type of assassinations. For example, like the story of Ka'b ibn Ashraf, where he allowed his companions to lie and murder Ka'b because he was writing poetry against the Muslims or whatever, against Muhammad rather. So this was actually done by Muhammad himself. So yeah, you can call it a Sharia style execution because it was done in favor of Islam, right? Like, I mean, what else would you call it? An Islamist execution? Like a religious extreme? Like, that's what it was. He was killed. It's obvious. We all know why. Why is he acting like we don't know why?
Like, the very fact that people would even think that somebody getting shot in an apartment is a Sharia-style execution shows not just how ignorant people are regarding the Sharia and Islam and Muslims, but the fact that it doesn't even register with people regarding how preposterous of a statement that is. When it comes to Muslim countries that implement the Sharia, you have judges, you have trials, you have prisons, people get arrested, they get sentenced by a judge.
You notice what I was saying earlier? He doesn't care about the fact this guy was killed. He cares about the fact that how he was killed. Yeah, he's supposed to be a judge and a ruler, but like, how is that any better? When Salman Rushdie, when the fatwa was put out on Salman Rushdie's head by an Islamic ruler, does that make it any better now? How does that legitimize this thing? This guy could have had a fatwa on his head too, right? A Muslim ruler could have made a decree that this guy needs to be killed. And like, how would this be not in line with Islam when Muhammad did the same thing? That's what I keep saying, right? He's trying to make it sound like Sharia is so peaceful. No, it's not.
It's not a matter of running into apartments. That's so absurd. She continues, Salwan, an outspoken critic of Islam, was shot dead during a live broadcast. This was not just murder, it was a calculated silencing, a brutal enforcement of blasphemy laws on Western soil. Now look at how quick people are to make things up and to lie just in order to push their agenda. She doesn't know what this was. She doesn't know who did.
No, we have no idea. Probably a radical Christian killed him. Someone that was mad at him for... Maybe he was a vegan. Like, maybe it was just a random murder. Just randomly got murdered, right? Like, maybe it was some innocent... Maybe he was innocent and he just got hit by bullets by the wrong person. Like, we don't know. It's not like he was criticizing the Quran. He was threatened day and night on his live streams.
انت شايف لازم يجيبونك والله العظيم. انا واحد الناس قسما بالله الا اقص راسك لو القطك اقسم بالله اقص راسك وما يرف قلبي عليك.
Including like live Muslims threatened to off this guy, like literally in his streams. He's had people tell him this, but we don't know. No. Maybe it was just some vegan activist that just happened to like be mad at him because he eats meat or something. Like, come on, like, give me a break.
Did it. She doesn't know why they did it. She's jumping to a bunch of conclusions. And the irony is that this person was so disrespectful, and everything about him points to just how provocative he was, trying to be as nasty as possible towards Muslims, that they're just assuming, well, yeah, he was so nasty that if somebody shot him, it must have been as retaliation for just how disrespectful he was. But the reality is, we don't know yet. What does she say? Rest in peace, my friend. You will be so very missed. Yeah, such a good friend because just like you, he loved to push a bunch of fake anti-Muslim rhetoric and be as nasty as possible. Alex Jones then quote tweeted her.
Okay, and then he gets into Alex Jones, which I don't really care about discussing his thing about Alex Jones. I'm going to skip that part.
It was a conspiracy theory. I don't know what happened, but neither does he and neither does she. All that we know is that this guy was being as provocative as possible, just like his buddies who have safely made a career out of this for so many years. So I don't personally condone anyone taking justice into their own hands and doing these sorts of things. In fact,
taking justice into their own hands. I wonder if he meant that this was just, I don't know. Clearly, under Islamic law, this guy would be executed. I mean, he didn't actually say that, but what this guy had done qualifies for execution under Islamic law if he was living in a Muslim country.
This is what these people want. I mean, he's literally writing, "Come get me, cowards." They want you to do these things. The more awful and provocative they are, the more attention they get, the more reach that they have. And they know deep down, Muslims are peaceful people. That's why they get away with it for so many years. In fact, if they were this disrespectful to non-Muslims, something would probably happen to them a lot sooner. Because non-Muslims, they truly don't understand how disrespectful.
This is actually so funny to hear him say this. Do we have like a long list of people being... I don't even have any words for this. Okay, so he thinks that... Oh my God. Just look at the list of extremist organizations on any of the government agencies. It's all Islamic.
This sort of behavior is. So as we can see, they're going to use this news as much as they can to spread hatred against Islam and Muslims, to push this idea that the West is in danger because of Muslims, even though people sometimes they are literally, as we can see here, they're literally asking for somebody to do something to them. But my advice is, brothers and sisters, don't take the bait. It is upon us to follow the laws of the land. And even in a Muslim country, it's for the authorities to deal with these sorts of things. But the reality is they wouldn't even do things like this in a Muslim country. And Islam also doesn't allow Muslims to act this way towards people of other religions. Allah knows best, and Allah will judge all of us accordingly in the hereafter. May Allah guide all of us. May Allah protect us. Thank you for watching. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika.
So as you can see, the whole issue here is how it was done. No condemnation of this guy being killed. Just, he shouldn't have been killed this way. The Muslim rulers should have done. And of course he wouldn't do it in a Muslim country. Why wouldn't he do it in a Muslim country? Because he doesn't have the ability or the safety to do so, right? He would be probably killed a long time ago. But Muslims are the most peaceful, he says. All right, so let's listen to Ali Dawa and his ridiculous takes. But let's just take a look at it. And he's like unapologetic as well, right? He doesn't have any sort of, doesn't mince up any words at all.
The Quran burner has been shot dead. Okay, so here is the one of the news we're going to read. Inshallah, we're going to come to some facts because I like the selective outrage media outlets and a lot of people do. And let me be honest with you, Muslims, and we've come to the point where we don't really care, man. We don't care about your opinions. We don't care about what you think about Islam. We just do not care. Islam is the fastest growing religion. Alhamdulillah, nothing's stopping it. People are waking up to the reality of Islam being the truth. People are leaving atheism. They're turning to Islam. Millions of people, Christians, are turning to Islam. Alhamdulillah, Islam is growing. It's the truth. It works. It's pragmatic. So Alhamdulillah. So these kind of stories, the reason I'm covering, not to say, oh, look, I just want to tell you guys, I don't care what you guys think. Blame Islam, don't blame Islam. I don't care.
You see how he says, we don't care? We don't care. We don't care what you think about Islam. We don't care. Islam's going to grow anyways. We don't care that this guy was executed and you think Islam is to blame, or Islam is bad, or Islam is violent and nasty and horrid. We don't care. That's his opinion. Now he's going to talk about how he doesn't condone vigilantism.
Anything like this. I just want to make a disclaimer before anyone jumps onto it, these kind of things. At the end of the day, there is capital punishment in Islam for people who desecrate scriptures. However, that's done with an emir, a ruler, and it's done with courts. It doesn't work of vigilantism where you go out and hunt people down. There's a capital punishment for anyone that causes corruption in Islamic land. But nowhere in Islam does it say that one takes matters in his own hands and does things like that. So I want to make that disclaimer. Nobody's condoning violence here. We're actually condemning it in a nutshell. Now let's come to this situation here.
You see over and over again, yeah, we don't condone it, as if it makes it better if it's done by an Islamic ruler, right? If it's done by an Islamic ruler, then apparently it's fine. But if it's done vigilante, it's not fine.
If you go to a specific neighborhood and be racist, if I go to the Bible Belt, to Texas or whatever, yes, okay, where these hillbillies are, Mississippi, and I burn the Bible, do you really think the Christians are not going to attempt to kill me? Like, are you that retarded? If I go to a nationalist Hindutva area and I burn their Bhagavad Gita or whatever it is, their scripture, do you not think there's going to be people out there who's going to attempt to try to kill me?
Well, first of all, he wasn't in a Muslim country. He was in Sweden, right? Where Muslims are a minority, I would think. And second of all, if Hindus or whatever hillbillies, as he put it, tried to kill him, does that make it okay? No, it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it right whatsoever. According to the religion, it is right. He's saying, oh, this is not unique to Islam or Muslims. But the religion actually to this day, he even said right at the beginning of the video, capital punishment for those who desecrate the Quran in an Islamic state. So Islam is different. Islam has a law that says you would be killed for even making fun of a religious belief.
You play stupid games and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. It's as simple as that. There are Muslims out there who also, again, they do silly things like that.
You know, this reminds me of when in my other video, which I have, I'm going to link it below, where Muhammad Hijab said, you don't want to get on the bad side, Alex. I'm talking to Alex O'Connor, right? Alex O'Connor made a slight little comment about Muslims, about Islam. It was a very, very tame comment, much less than what I would even have said in my videos or anyone else has said. And because of this, he overreacted, probably because he also lost the debate to Alex. But he threatened Alex and he said, he dog whistled. He said, you don't want to get on the wrong side of Muslims. You know, we know where you live on Crowley Street, whatever it was. And, you know, we don't want to make enemies amongst the Muslims, right? You never know, these Muslims, right? They might get mad. But basically, it's the same type of dog whistling. He's saying that, like, you're going to find out, right? You're going to fuck around and find out, right? The Muslims are going to show you. Oh, but we condemn it. We condemn it, but you're going to find out.
So the point is, this is not exclusive to Islam. Wherever you go, if I go to specifically Russia and insult the Russians and...
Anyway, so he's going to go on and on about the same thing. I think we get the point. Conclusion. This is truly awful what happened. We need to stand against it. We need to disincentivize it. We need to push back however we can so that this never happens again. Nobody should be killed, no matter how distasteful what he did was, right? If you think it's distasteful, it doesn't justify murdering him, right? Never. It can never justify ripping up a book that he owns. It's his own book. Yes, it's offensive and you get mad, and Muslims there were upset. He did it on Eid and it was outside the mosque or whatever. Sure, they could just as well counter protest back and they could say, well, screw you and your values. We don't like you either, right? But to kill him, that's not okay. And sadly, what we see from Ali Dawa, from Sajid, from Muhammad Hijab, from all the others, and in fact on Twitter from many other social media profiles, is Muslims laughing and gloating over his death. And even putting in comments like to me on Twitter that you're going to be the next Salman, like, hinting that Salwan, Momika, wink wink, you're going to be the next one. Same thing with Apostate Prophet and others. We need to stay strong against the jihadis, and we need to fight back, and we need to do this by doing what they don't want us to do, by standing up against these people and by not forgetting Salwan. Even though I didn't agree with what he was doing and I didn't like the way he did it, I'm going to support him in his death posthumously, and I'm going to fight for what he wanted, which was to raise awareness about the terrible problems in Islam and the violence and the awfulness. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. This video was brought to you by my patrons and by YouTube members. Thanks so much for your support. If you'd like to join the cause and to help me, join my Patreon. The link is below, or on YouTube membership by clicking join now. Thanks for watching. This is your friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir signing out.